Ooh, am I mistaken? Have we ever seen a family quarrel like this on Married at First Sight?
I'm a grown-ass man. I'm 33. I don't need you to chastise me. I've been taking care of myself since I was 19, bro.
You acting like a little bitch.
Night-night.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Queenie, for those who don't know me. And after a lot of mulling over, after a lot of lamenting, after a lot of thought, we're back with Married at First Sight, season 15. Episode 1. Y'all know I did not want to come back, but a lot of you guys were like, nah, you should just do it. And now with the addition of Devon Franklin and this other lady, I feel like maybe they will add something different to the show. They aren't coming on as experts though, so that'll be interesting. But the long and short of it is we are back for season 15. The mess has returned. The chaos has returned. We love it. It's a guilty pleasure, let's all be honest. So before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell, and leave a comment down below. Okay, so I did watch the matchmaking special. I thought about doing a video on it, but I was like, not really feeling it. I still have my notes from it though, so if you do want me to do a video from my thoughts of the matchmaking special, I could do that. However, I'm just gonna jump straight into each individual and who they've been paired up with, starting with Lindsay, who is 29, and honestly, why does it feel like I'm looking into a mirror? Okay, so she is an anxious overthinker, tired of dating apps, raised SDA, and sorry for the TMI, but had a sexual awakening in her 20s, and I'm just like, you are me and I'm you.
I really don't feel like I'm an overthinker. I don't know. Now I'm overthinking it. What did the church say? Like, screw the church. I'm a physical therapist. I have a clinical doctorate. I pick men who are emotionally unavailable and are not ready for the level of commitment that I'm looking for.
I love that she's punny as well, because I'm a punny girl. She has a good support system from her friends. They're just reminding her that, hey, these are your potential triggers. You know, make sure that you are fed. Make sure that he's aware of this and that of you. And they're not like putting all the onus on the partner to take care of her, which was something that we saw a lot of in the last season. It seemed like it seemed like the family wanted to get their person off of their hands, whereas she's like, no, you're a catch and we love you. We just hope that you're aware of these things so that the relationship doesn't get compromised. I felt like it was a good little friendly powwow. She's matched with Miguel, who's 35. He's a little special. You know, he's a little special. When I was watching the matchmaking special, I felt like he might be a little bit too nice for a situation where you marry a stranger, a person who comes with their preconceived notions. Like, I feel like he's somebody who needs to be with someone who he establishes like a fresh relationship with. But that could just be me.
I'm a dork, I'm a jock, I'm a lover, I'm a fighter, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I love writing. I've always found escapes in like fantasy and sci-fi. I would love to introduce my wife to the magical world that is Dungeons and Dragons.
One thing that I really wanted to note was that him being so immersed in a fantasy world doesn't give me much hope when it comes to his romantic life, because he's also a hopeless romantic, and I feel like for him, if the marriage doesn't pan out like a fairy tale, he might want to opt out.
I hope that she doesn't become a person who takes advantage of you. I think we just need to clean your rose-colored lenses just a little bit.
Next, we have Justin, who's 33, has a history of being sexualized for his height, but he wants to be a doting husband for someone who sees him as more than just a piece of meat.
Women were just curious about, you know, if I was packing or not, or, you know, what's it like being with a 6'8" guy? Because of my previous engagement, I'm a lot more cautious now. I am very cautious. I'm cautious with people's actions, what they say. I pay attention to red flags. I've been celibate for 1.5 years. It's just sex, you know. I want something more than that. I want something deeper than that.
His brother, who raised him for the majority of his life, has concerns and he feels like he's not ready for marriage. I share the same sentiments. As I was watching the matchmaking special, he said things like, he didn't want to get an apartment that fits his accommodations because he's ready to accommodate like his wife instead. Like he seems like this person who's very open to bending and shifting to his partner, whereas the person that he's been partnered up with, Alexis, no offense to her, but I feel like she's kind of so set in life that maybe it's her way or the highway. I think she also described herself as a no-nonsense kind of person. So I'm just like, It could be like a Jasmina again, where it's like, no, I already know what I want things to look like. I already know how my life is supposed to pan out. And so you got to bend and fit within it. And it's great that she's partnered with somebody who is more inclined to do the bending. Oh no, that reminded me of Why Did I Get Married? What movie was that with Janet Jackson who said, oh, so you doing the bending?
Ain't nobody bending me over.
Oh, so you doing the bending?
So not that kind of bending. Back on track. I'm so easily distracted. I think that in this dynamic, though, potentially he could become a doormat, but we'll see. We will see. On to actually more about Alexis herself. She has been proposed to 3 times. Said no every single time because she gets cold feet.
I always felt like I would change expectations inconsistently. So I think I was afraid of a marriage that failed. Watching my parents' marriage fail, it affected me. I always thought everything had to be perfect, and if it wasn't perfect, I didn't want it, which were unrealistic in retrospect. I just want to give all this love and pour it into a fine, tall man.
I also have here that she tends to shift the goalposts in relationships and fears failing in marriage. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm already feeling like it's not going to work out. The only way that I do see it working is that they embrace their yin and yang, and they adopt each other's characteristics. So if she becomes a little bit more lenient in relationships, and if he becomes a little more headstrong, a little more, assertive, maybe it could work. But as of right now, I see her being very dominant in this relationship and him just kind of taking it. Now we have Kristen, who's 32 and is a giver with a history of giving too much.
He was actually staying on the couch of the neighbor, which I should have taken as a red flag, but I just leaned right in. I planned a gorgeous destination, lavish wedding that I spent my entire life savings on. My fiance's mistress approached me and told me that they had been sleeping together for the past 6 months. We turned something so sad and lonely and dark to one of the best weeks of my life. My biggest fear in life is dying alone with no children.
I absolutely 100% want children.
So this isn't an attack on Kristen. This is just something that I've had to learn myself. A lot of women tend to tie their identity of womanhood to being a mother and a wife. And the reality is, that's not a reality for a lot of people, right? And so I think the reason why her first engagement didn't pan out well was because she was so focused on this goal and maybe missed the red flags that were, glaring right in front of her. Or you're so focused on the goal that you try to achieve it by any means necessary. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad that she was able to turn that sour experience into a positive. I think she also moved from that city into San Diego to start her life over. And I'm just like, yeah, this is all great and all, but I hope that if marriage doesn't pan out, if having children doesn't pan out, she can still be somebody who is self-confident, self-reliant, still finds purpose in life beyond those things. The good thing, however, is that she's partnered with Mitch, who is 41, who is very family oriented and wants to build this family unit. So they will have that in common. He's also environmentally conscious and very future focused.
I didn't make time to date and think about relationships because I got really focused on my own self. I mean, my biggest flaw is just I've had commitment issues. If I didn't have my brother and sister-in-law as role models for what a healthy marriage looks like, I might not be in this situation today where I actually feel ready to get married.
So with Mitch is coming in with a couple of red flags, I can't lie to you. I love that he is environmentally conscious, I do. However, the way that he lives seems to be so specific. It's like such a specific lifestyle that if he doesn't have a partner who matches that to the T, they might butt heads. And then he hasn't been in many long-term relationships, but he thinks that diving into the deep end, being marriage, is going to be, you know, what makes a difference in life. And I'm like, it might end up actually being a shock for you because you're not used to being in that kind of space with people. It also is a red flag of Kristen's to have somebody who's in their late 30s, early 40s who hasn't had long-term relationships. Yeah, I had hope for them when watching the matchmaking special, but now hearing them talk about what they're looking for and about their history, it might not work. Then we have Morgan, who is 27 and is a guy's girl who is not docile by any means.
I've noticed that a lot of the times that like guys can be stuck in the mindset of, oh, I want this passive woman who's gonna follow me. When I tell guys that I'm into like video games and Muay Thai and working out and lifting weights, at first they're really intrigued. So they get to know me and they're like, maybe she's a little bit too headstrong for me. Maybe she's a little bit too independent for me.
Okay, so this is gonna sound bad, but hear me out. Hear me out, okay? The traditional definitions of masculine and feminine tend to work with each other when they balance each other out, right? When I see her, I feel like she embodies the traditional definitions of what people would perceive as like a masculine presenting woman, which is not a negative, it's just an observation. When I see Ben, who she's been partnered up with, he is 29, they have similar passions in life. They're both into fitness and all that stuff. I do see him as more feminine presenting in the traditional aspect. I want to keep harping on that because masculine and feminine, you know, it's ever changing and all that stuff. I feel like if he is okay with a woman who is more headstrong, who is more masculine presenting, it could work.
Morgan needs someone like happy-go-lucky Ben who isn't intimidated by her natural independence and leadership.
The biggest issue right now that I see between the two of them is that she loves to travel and explore, whereas he is very frugal. And it's not an issue to be frugal. It's not an issue to be somebody with good money management. Where it becomes an issue is it's tied to his history. So potentially he could have a poverty or scarcity mindset, which leads to you like trying to hold on to every single dollar in the fear that it'll just all disappear. But for somebody who's, you know, a go-getter, an adventurous person, a world traveler, that's not gonna work out. So we'll see how that's gonna pan out for the two of them. Then we have Stasha, who is 37, has set herself up perfectly, both professionally and personally, with the exception of a husband.
I'm addicted to only two things in this world, and that's coffee and success. I was always told we didn't have enough money or you can't have those things. So I knew that if I wanted something, I had to work for it. When I was in high school, my mom wanted to move out of the city. I ended up emancipating myself and then living with one of my teammates. I feel like I have everything and achieved all my goals that I had set, but the marriage, the family, this is my missing piece.
So the thing with Stasha is that she's not at a loss of options. She just cannot find somebody who's an equal for her. And her mom hints at the idea of a post-nup, and she says, oh yeah, absolutely, we're getting that. Like, that's a deal breaker if he doesn't want that. I feel like that's a little bit of foreshadowing for the season. But I do see her as more of an analytical person, somebody who is going to break down the itty-bitty parts of her partner, and if he doesn't match up with her, it's not going to work out. So I'm looking at the experts kind of sideways on why they would partner her up with Nate, who is younger. He is younger in his career. He's a day trader. Like, I'm just like, I don't know.
I've been broke a lot. I slept in my car, and I was willing to hit rock bottom multiple times to get that upside potential.
Sometimes it could just be hard for women to get over my past.
Like, I'm just done with like going out, smashing chicks. Like, I did that in my 20s.
What if she isn't okay with you having female friends? Like, is that a concern for you? I mean, obviously it is for us because we really care about you and want the best for you.
I never even really thought about that.
He says he's looking to be in a place to take care of somebody. And I feel like he's going to suffer from an inferiority complex being with her. I do. Stasha is so established and so well set in herself that she kind of needs like a quote unquote alpha male, but not like in a toxic way. Like an alpha male that's like, oh no, I got my ish together. Like I'm already set. I'm just looking for a partner to keep it pushing. Whereas with Nate, I feel like he's still in a place to like prove himself to a woman like Stasha. I feel like he would have worked better with like somebody who is also figuring it out career-wise, who's also just coming out of their 20s, maybe, you know, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. He said something that I predicted in the matchmaking special. Being a day trader, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, it's a personal trigger for me because I have dealt with one. The emotional intelligence sometimes be lacking, and the presence, like mental presence, like even if I'm here with you, like be here with me as well. I'm telling you, day traders, they're always thinking about the next thing, the next deal, the next trade, the next whatever. And so he admitted that in his past, he hasn't been emotionally present. He hadn't been an adequate communicator. And also another, like, it's a slight red flag. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But he keeps referring to women as chicks. And I'm like, that's a personal thing for me. Like, I don't like that. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I definitely think that they are not going to work. But stranger things have happened. So, of course, it would not be Married at First Sight without matching every single person with their red flags.
The guys that are in their late 30s, and they've never been in love before.
I want a guy who's ambitious like me. Like, I feel like I'm very, very ambitious.
Would that be a deal breaker if your husband wasn't like, he was just like, let's save money, I don't want to travel?
Yeah. I definitely need a man who's like assertive. I will walk over these men if they cannot hold their ground. I will just eat you alive.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that they partnered people up with things that they typically wouldn't want to go for. It depends on how hardline those things are, you know? So Kristen didn't want somebody who didn't have a long-term relationships, and Mitch is that person. Somebody didn't want somebody who was frugal, and then they matched them with a frugal person. Somebody didn't want someone who was a doormat, and then they matched them with somebody who's a little bit too accommodating. I'm like, if these people are able to like learn and grow together, if these people are able to be a little bit malleable in their relationship, there's definitely hope. But the problem is Married at First Sight literally has this thing of like opposites attract. And I feel like until I ask you to match me with my opposite, don't use that as a reason to pair me with somebody. If I ask you for something specific, if I say that this is a red flag or a deal breaker for me, it means the deal is broken. It means I don't want that. So don't give it to me. Like, don't. It is in part the expert's job to think for you, but when I've told you like this is a hard line, respect that. But here we go, another season of absolute debauchery. So we will see. In this episode, the first married couple is Alexis and Justin, who just came off the heels of a very heated debate with his brother, who still feels like he's not ready for marriage.
My concerns are just being overprotective and not really wanting to accept the maturity he has acquired.
My brother is still not a fan of it, but I think as long as he sees that I'm happy, then eventually he'll be on board.
Like I said, I kind of share the brother's sentiments. I just think he needs to have just a little bit more of a backbone. I need him to be a little bit more assertive. I need him to have, what's the thing? Like, have his stipulations. It seems like he's just so accommodating, and that's great. But that also feels like why his past situations didn't work out. Everybody wants to try him out. He gets in these relationships where people are like, oh, this is great, this is great, this is great. But if you're too agreeable, people are like, okay, I've had enough and I go somewhere else. So yeah, that's my concern. Alexis, she don't like that man. She doesn't. She's enamored by the height, but even the height, she's like, yeah, it's a little much.
Like, I asked for tall, but I'm like 6'8". You know, like, that's a bit much. That's uncomfortably tall. Physically, I mean, he's not awful, but he's not my type by looking at him. But as far as his just banter, and he makes me feel comfortable.
So even though she's not necessarily attracted to him, she is leaning in, you know, she's trying. She hasn't made it a thing like we've seen in the past where it's like, oh my God, he's ugly. Oh my God, how could the experts do me like this? She's being open-minded. She's embracing it. A couple things though that she was not feeling. She didn't like the high fives. She thinks it's corny. She's kind of over it. She did call him out on it. And I'm like, yeah. She's definitely going to be vocal in this relationship. Another thing that I noticed, he girls her a lot. He's like, yes, girl. Girl. That could just be a me issue, but I feel like it's going to be an issue. Just to touch on their vows before I end the video. Her vows, she apologized for the moments that she missed before meeting him and vows to be there for those moments going forward. She also said that she will be in it if he's in it. So if he gives her the effort, she promises to do the effort as well. His vows were of support and protection while allowing her to remain independent. No surprise there. Come on, Justin. I mean, it sounds nice, but when you know his history, you're kind of just like, okay. He vows to remind himself how lucky he is to have her. It's sweet. On the surface, it is sweet, but when you dissect it, I have a lot of concerns. But this was the first wedding, the only wedding of the episode. The next episode, they better hit us with the rest of the 4. Because you know how Mass likes to drag, okay? And if they are dragging this season, I promise, without a shadow of a doubt, this will be the last one. I cannot keep doing this with y'all. Like, Mass, do better, please. Anyways, as always, please make sure to like the video, subscribe and hit the bell, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.